let's break down what is a layer 2 protocol, and then, what is a ZK rollup, and then how does the layer 2 protocol, use ZK rollups to, kind of store that on the main chain.
Yeah, yeah. So starting with layer two, we definitely have to go back to blockchain itself.
Yeah.
What is a blockchain and the challenges that are being faced in the space? So blockchains can scale. However, there's this idea called the blockchain trilemma, where when building a blockchain and growing the network, certain compromises have to be made. It's very difficult to make a highly secure, highly decentralized, and highly scalable blockchain. A lot of those, out of those three property, they can be at odds with each other. So, we have Bitcoin, which is highly decentralized and highly secure, but it's not as scalable as we'd like it to be. Similar thing is seen on Ethereum. A similar thing is seen on other ecosystems. And now that Cardano is picking up, a lot of activity and a lot of transactions, we're seeing a similar thing as well, where Cardano is highly secure. The focus that IOHK has put on formal verification and correctness and proofs at every level means that it's one of, if not the most secure architectures that we have in the space. The amazing community we have here, all the stake pools and the wide variety and the delegators, and the tens of thousands or however many nodes are being run make it highly decentralized. So decentralization and security, where we're solid on that. Now, scaling a network at the same time in the same layer, that becomes very, very difficult and it becomes a challenge. So this is where the idea of layer two comes in, where you keep the layer one as it is, focusing on, just being secure and being decentralized, Cardano doing what it's good at and what it excels at in the space. And the scalability aspect, you offload that into a separate layer built on top of the network on layer two. So that's effectively what Orbis is. Orbis is another protocol, an architecture that's built on top of Cardano as a layer two. And the link between Orbis and Cardano is a smart contract. So there's actually a smart contract on Cardano. This is called the verifier contract. And Orbis is off chain, in this layer two environment. And Orbis exists as a different kind of node called a prover node. And the prover node submits the proof of all the bundled up transactions to the verifier contract on Cardano on layer one. So that's how the layer one, layer two distinction works. So what this enables is that Cardano can stay, as it is and continue improving, but focusing on just remaining as secure and decentralized. That's the strength that we have here in this community. But then the scalability aspect, Orbis can focus purely on that. Because it's linked by a smart contract on Cardano, it inherits the security and the decentralization of Cardano, but it's able to um, focus purely on being as scalable and as high throughput as it can be, whilst also offering very low fees. So that's effectively how that architecture works. So to now get into how Orbis is actually able
So
to.
real quick,
Oh,
I got a question
yeah,
for you. That
yeah,
was a great explanation. I really enjoyed it. So we have this, smart contract that's on the layer one. If
yeah.
users want to interact with the layer two, do they have to essentially, put their ADA in there, put, a certain amount of value, and do they get, like an LP token of some sort to represent the value that they have in that contract? And then once that value is in that contract, that's what allows it to operate on layer two.
Yeah, that's effectively how it works. So a user would have their ADA, and they would take that ADA, they deposit it into that smart contract, the verify contract, and then they'd get a representative token. That might be called, wrapped ADA or OADA, for Orbis ADA. And then in their wallet, they'd be connected, first they'd be connected to the Cardano network. And then once they transition through that smart contract, they'd also connect to the Orbis. So in their wallet, it would show as OADA. So this would be a representative version of ADA on Orbis. And then they'd be able to use that ADA in Orbis, move it around, interact with the different protocols. And then once they're done, if they want to come back to Cardano, they just go back through that smart contract and then they get their original ADA or they get more ADA. Let's say they take their ADA into Orbis, they have OADA, they interact, they buy different tokens or provide liquidity, and they've now earned more ADA on more OADA on Orbis. When they come back to Cardano, they get more ADA as well. So it's a one-to-one representation, and that's really key. That smart contract in the it's a smart contract that's fixed and immutable. So whatever's happening on Orbis, the core ADA itself is safe at all times. No one can move that in and out or do anything, even the prover nodes themselves, without the user themselves actually depositing or withdrawing. So there's a lot of security doing it this way.
Yeah, and then from the user perspective, you have this layer one that may be congested, with Orbis on layer two. All the user is going to have to do is, come in with, their wallet, whether it be CC Vault or another DApp connector wallet, and then they're just going to click a button, and then that's going to, take some of their ADA, how much ever they select, put it into a smart contract, and that allows you to, interact and operate on a less congested network, which is very cool. And bring up the blockchain trilemma there. I mean, that's very good for Cardano because you're essentially creating another layer, another network, for value to transact and for. And then projects can also launch on top of Orbis as well, right? Almost like, like say a Dex or any other projects, right?
Yeah, yeah, it works exactly the same way as it would work on Cardano. So you could almost think of Orbis as another Cardano on top of Cardano, but just much faster, higher throughput, and much, lower fees, effectively almost, zero for the fees. So everything that a user can do on Cardano, they can do on Orbis, and also everything that a developer can do on Cardano, they can do on Orbis as well. So the same dApps, the same Plutus scripts can all launch on Cardano, and on Orbis, and the users can interact with that the exact same way. So it works exactly the same.
Well, thank you. I think you explained that in a great way. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Were you starting to get into ZK rollups or another topic?
Yeah, yeah. So the core, this is definitely where it gets a bit more complicated
Well, I'm
as we
happy for it.
stretch.
I think you did a good job kind of laying the foundation there.
Yeah, yeah. So now we get into ZK rollups and starting with rollups. So what that effectively is taking, lots of transactions happening, off chain on Orbis, and bundling all of them together, rolling them up and into a single proof. And this proof it's a proof that all of these transactions have happened and they've all happened fairly, under the rules of the Cardano ledger. So, nothing malicious has happened. And that single proof off chain on Orbis from the prover node can be submitted to the verifier contract. So now the verifier contract on chain on Cardano has a record or a proof of all of those transactions that have been rolled up and bundled together. So what this means is that Cardano doesn't have to process, uh, those different transactions, 1,000, different transactions. It only has to process a single proof. So it's almost like you're compressing all of this activity and computation and transactions down into this single proof. And that proof is submitted to Cardano, and Cardano reads it, and it has a record of these transactions and how much each person should have for those transactions, so that when they want to come out of Orbis, they get exactly the amount of ADA or other tokens, Cardano native tokens, or even NFTs that they had on Orbis. So that's the proof aspect. So To get into the ZK side of things, ZK stands for zero knowledge. And this is a technology or a cryptographic technology that we're using called zero knowledge proofs. It's the kind of proof. What this means is that we're able to prove that something is true without revealing the information itself. So to break that down and to provide an example, let's say I had, a piece of information out there, and someone, needed to know that, do I have that information or do I not have that information? And you wanted to prove that to them without having to reveal the information itself. This is really good for privacy. Um, Zero knowledge proofs effectively enable you to submit a proof and for the other person to verify that that's true, that you do have that information without having to actually look through the information.